Murgh Makhani, a dish born not of palaces, but of thrift. From the back kitchens of Delhi, where, in the years after a country was split in two, cooks learned to save what the fire had already touched. Tonight, we make it the old way, the patient way. The world knows it as butter chicken, sweet, orange, heavy. But that is the airport version. The real Makhani is something quieter. Charred chicken, a tomato gravy cooked down until it is almost black, and only then, the butter, folded in slowly, off the heat, until the whole pot turns to silk. It was never meant to be loud. It was meant to be kind. 4 servings, 20 minutes to prepare, 25 over the flame. But before any of that, 4 hours of waiting while the chicken rests in its marinade. 1.5 pounds of chicken thigh, half a cup of yogurt, whisked smooth, the juice of 1 lemon, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 cups of tomato puree, 2 teaspoons of Kashmiri chili, a spoon of coriander, butter, and cream, and the soul of the dish, dried fenugreek leaves, kasuri methi. Begin with the marinade. In a wide bowl, whisk the yogurt until it loosens. Add the lemon, the crushed garlic, the coriander, and half of the Kashmiri chili, that deep red that stains everything it touches. Lay the chicken in and turn each piece until not one corner is left bare. Then cover it and walk away. For 4 hours, the yogurt does its slow work, softening the meat, carrying the spice inward, thread by thread. There is no shortcut here. The kitchens of the old city have always known that some flavors are only given to those willing to wait. When the waiting is done, bring the heat, high and merciless. In a true Delhi kitchen, this is the tandoor. Tandoor. A clay throat of fire, blistering the edges black in seconds. At home, the broiler will do. Let the chicken char until the tips darken and the kitchen fills with smoke that smells like a winter street. Slice the charred chicken into pieces the size of a bite. Set it aside. Now, the gravy. Pour the tomato puree into the pan with the last of the chili and a little salt. Let it simmer and darken and thicken until it pulls away from the sides and the raw red turns to a deep, cooked rust. This is the moment the dish is named for. Lower the flame, almost to nothing. Drop in the butter, spoon by spoon, and the cream behind it. Whisk patiently and watch the tomato and the fat refuse. And then Slowly, agree. The gravy turns glossy, velvet. This is Makhani. This is the butter that gives it its name. Now, bring them together. Slide the charred chicken back into the gravy and let it soak up the silk. And then, the last gift. Crush the dried fenugreek between your palms. Kasuri methi, and let it fall like rain. That maple sweet smell is the difference between a curry and this. 5 minutes more, gentle, and it is done. Where did it come from? The story lives in Delhi in the 1950s, in the crowded kitchens of a city swollen with refugees after the partition of a nation tore Punjab in two. In one of those kitchens, a practical problem. Tandoori chicken left from the night before, gone dry. Rather than waste it, someone bathed it in tomato and butter and cream, and by accident, a legend was poured. The name is plain. Murgh is chicken. Makhani comes from mukh-uh-nee, butter. Chicken buttered. Nothing more. But behind it stands the tandoor, the clay oven that has roared across this land for thousands of years, older than the Mughals, older than Delhi itself. Every plate of Makhani begins with that ancient fire. From that one Delhi kitchen, it traveled to London, to Toronto, to 1,000 menus that could not pronounce its name. It became, perhaps, the most famous Indian dish on earth. The cooks of the old city will tell you, with a knowing smile, that the world fell in love with the easy version and never tasted the real one. But the real one is still here, still simmering, still waiting. And always there is the fenugreek, kasuri methi, wild leaves dried in the sun and crushed by hand at the very last moment. They smell of maple and of hay and of something you cannot quite name. Leave them out and you have a good tomato sauce. Add them and you have Delhi. It is the smallest ingredient that carries the whole soul. Serve it warm, over rice or torn bread that drags to the gravy and takes the gold with it. Eat it slowly, the way it was first eaten, in a loud city by people who had lost much and found in a pot of butter and fire a reason to gather again. Murgh Makhani is the rarest kind of recipe, one born from having too little that gave the world too much. It survives because it was never trying to impress. It was only trying to make something dry, tender again. And the table, at last, is set.